I think psychology was like this gold I found really late in my life. Christ also has a micro presentation element in the interview round. It provides a hostel facility to like all students. I think there is some provision with respect to the year of study that you have. My preparation for GATE and NET was completely different. Giving it a try is definitely something.
Hey guys, this is Siddharth and you're watching College Companion, where we talk about lesson on colleges, courses, and career options. And today we have a very special guest with us. We have with us Kashika Sachdeva, and she is a clinical psychology master's graduate from Christ University and has done amazing things. She's a gold medalist from the university, has cracked GATE rank 38 in psychology, if I'm not wrong, and has also qualified NET JRF. So welcome on the channel, Kashika. How are you doing?
Hi, Siddharth. I'm so glad to be here. I'm doing good. So yeah, it's nice weather. It's a little bit humid, so yeah, making things work.
Amazing, amazing. So today Kashika will talk about psychology and her experience with the subjects and what led her to Christ University, and a little bit about uh, UGC JRF net as they call it, and the GATE exam as well. So let's get the ball rolling, Kashika. So psychology, right? How did you come across psychology? Why did you choose that subject? And that your path from bachelor's and master's. Can you briefly tell us about it?
Okay, so I think psychology was like this gold I found really late in my life, and it was something like children have plans that they want to be a doctor, they want to be an engineer, they want to be an artist. I didn't have plans like that. When I was a child, I always wanted to do what I'm passionate about. So I always kept in mind, okay, this is a subject I'm interested in, and that is how my I chose my fields. I didn't. Sort of see the career prospects. Okay, this is what I can do after this. I just had this very small 1 or 2 year plan, and I just stuck to that. So I was introduced to the subject by a very close school friend in like 10th standard when we were about to choose our streams. Okay, people take science, people take commerce, people take humanities, and I was like, I don't think I'm a humanities or commerce student. I was always like extremely logical, so I thought science is something I was really interested in, and my friend was not sure, so she talked to me about psychology, and I was like, okay, that's the first time I'm hearing about something like that. And she was like, okay, she told me about the subject, what we study and all, and I was like, that's interesting. And when we progressed, when I learned about personality, I learned about Freud, and I was like, this is some good stuff, and I was really hooked to the subject since then. And I honestly didn't know what to do after school. Like, do I want to be a doctor? I was not sure. So I gave all these exams. I almost actually took admission as well, but I always thought I want to do something with psychology. So I took admission into Delhi University for my bachelor's in psychology honors. I did my bachelor from Kamla Nehru College, and I was fortunate enough to find like brilliant professors and peers who were like very up for engaging in discussions. I found like a very strong support system there. And I also figured what I like to do, what I'm interested in. I was very interested in statistics, biopsychology, cognitive psychology. I was very interested in personality, especially. And I think I sort of took that interest and channeled it into my master's. I didn't think about the career prospects as such at that point of time. But what I really ran after was my passion for the subject and what I really got interested in, because I felt that if I'm interested in something, I will carve my path. I will find a scope within that field. I will do something. I will at least enjoy that. I will at least be working on what I'm passionate about. So I think I went with that mentality, and I sort of kept going from one stone, kept jumping from one thing to another, and I found my footing here. And I'm very glad that my friend that day told me in 10th standard about the subject, and I think I've not looked back after that. So yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing how small moments can have such a huge impact in the long term, and you were able to carve a path outside the binary of engineers and doctors. So real
Yeah.
kudos to you on that. And yeah, Freud always finds his name when it comes to
Yeah.
starting conversations.
Yeah, it's like his ideas not just his own ideas. It's like ideas that were inspired from him that went against him. All of that has shaped psychology into what it is right now.
After bachelor's, people generally narrow their field of interest. Like from psychology, you might have other paths like counseling psychology or clinical psychology. So can you talk about those different paths and why you chose clinical psychology to go with?
Um, okay, so when we're in bachelor's, we sort of learn different aspects of psychology. Most prominent aspects that stand out in general are clinical psychology, counseling psychology, organizational psychology, basically in an industrial setup, in an organizational setup, criminal psychology, forensics, and then there's neuropsychology. And these days, all of the fields have made so many advances, um, and it is sort of possible to carve a scope in each of these. I think quite a few years back, it was still the options were a bit limited. And but I think right now in the current times, options have increased quite a lot, and people within psychology also can find something to their interest. So for me personally, I was also very confused after my bachelor's. What should I take up? Um, I was quite interested in psychopathology, basically mental health disorders, and biopsychology. And I wanted a degree which will equip me in research when it comes to these areas. So I looked through different colleges and I found the program of Christ Bangalore, the clinical psychology program, to be something that I would really, really want to pursue. I remember it had like theories of personality course in the first semester, and I think when I looked at it, and I was just so happy and so amazed that this is something I genuinely am so interested in. I think that was a major factor. The course itself, the subjects that were included in helping me choose a master's course. The reason Christ caught my eye was because of its program, specially. I looked through the faculty details as well. They looked very promising, and all of them were very research oriented as well. And this particular personality course is something that I, during my time, found really interesting because I did not find that course anywhere else in India, at least. So I got attracted by that. I got attracted by the biological psychology course and cognitive psychology course, which spanned first 2 semesters of the course. And I was just intrigued. So I applied, and I kept all my hopes um, with Christ. And I was like, please take me, because this particular degree I was really interested in. Christ has, in the second year of master's, there is a pro bono therapy program for which we are supervised, and we gave free of cost sessions to people. And I took that opportunity, and I found it to be a really nice experience for me. I learned so much through that process. I think um, I can't even put into words that way, because I genuinely, it changed my mind and it changed my outlook towards so many different things in life. I think it's important to keep in mind our strengths, but also focus on where we think we're vulnerable. Sometimes it's our fears which are stopping us. And there's nothing wrong with being in a comfort zone, but I personally felt that I should try it before deciding whether it is something for me or not. A lot of my professors told me that, you are young and you should try different things and find out what suits you. One of my research mentors, who is really inspiring and has been with me always, even now, I think, and she told me that, this fear that you're talking about, it also speaks volumes about the care that you want to hold, that space that you want to hold for your clients, and you are afraid of not doing anything wrong. And I think that itself is a huge strength in a way, because when we hold that space of care for our clients, um, that itself is very therapeutic. So that itself is an experience which clients can definitely feel when they're sitting across a therapist and they feel that they're cared for and validated. I think I thought that leave everything else. If this is something I can provide, everything else will fall into place. And actually, honestly, did. So I think that advice was life changing for me. And I really do wish that experience on every person who is watching this video, who is out there, who is afraid of something and would like to try. I think giving it a try is definitely something.
Giving it a try is the mantra for the day, for the year. and forever. and uh, talking about Christ, so while you applied as a master's candidate, what was the process like? Is there a written test? Is there an interview? Both?
Hmm. So when I applied, we were in the middle of COVID during the second wave. So the process was online. It was an online written test, and then there was an interview online with two of the faculty members from Christ. So what happened was that Christ holds admissions in different rounds. During my time, there were 3 rounds: March, April, May. I signed up for the March round. I At that point I thought that there is only one entrance exam and the interview slots are different across months. So I signed up for my interview in March and I didn't know the entrance will also be in March. So I was not prepared for the entrance and I had like 2 weeks to prepare, hardly 2 weeks to prepare. I gave in my everything during that time. I read like so many books and articles in my notes, just gave it everything. My eyes began watering and all. It was just like a very stressful period of my life. But the entrance in itself was quite interesting. It was like a multiple choice format. After that, interview is mandatory for everybody who's giving the entrance test. My interview was next day, and for my interview, I basically again had a run through of all my notes, and I prepared for some questions in general, which they ask, like, tell me a little bit about yourself, your strengths, limitations, these kind of interview questions. I sort of prepared my answers a little bit in terms of what I can see. Um, then I sort of also prepared a few research studies if I'm asked to quote something, some insights from a book I'm recently reading. I've experienced that a lot of interviewers are also interested in seeing what kind of books you're reading and what kind of insights can you have from those books that you're reading. It sort of gives an insight into your perspective as well, what you're interested in. So I prepared such kind of answers. I prepared myself in terms of the legalities involved in clinical psychology, the recent laws and bills that had come up, and ethics in clinical psychology. I learned about Christ through the website. Like I learned everything by heart, even the numbers, like very random numbers. I was like, I will leave no stone unturned. So I entered the interview, and the experience was actually pretty nice because both the faculty members were like very reassuring. Basically, what happened was that I was asked about myself, what kind of courses and subjects I had studied in my bachelor's, where I come from, what is my interest area, have I done any research in that area. And as I talked about all these things, the next questions came from these things as well. So if I was talking about my interest in neuroscience and statistics, and sort of the questions that followed were about statistics and neuroscience. So Christ also has a micro presentation element in the interview round. There is like a 1 minute segment, 1 to 1.5 minute segment, where it's like an extempore. You were given a topic on the spot. You're asked to collect your thoughts in like 10-15 seconds, and then you have to present that. So I was given neurobiology of emotion because neuroscience was something I was talking about. So I was given a similar topic. And a lot of people have asked me how to prepare for micro presentation. I've conducted workshops also for Christ entrances, and through LinkedIn and Instagram and other social media channels, I have received this query multiple times that how do I prepare for a micro presentation? And one thing I've said to everyone is that just be very strong with your interest area, because what you're talking about is something that it's very possible that you will be asked about that, because nobody can know everything in the world, and that is like a very genuine human limitation, that nobody can have all the knowledge in the world. So the faculty members are also very well, they want to see that you are able to learn and catch on things. They don't expect you to know everything. What they expect is like a mindset to learn, because you're joining a master's degree essentially to further your learning and to train in the discipline. So they're also looking at that mindset. How oriented are you towards research? So when you're answering in the micro presentation, um, it's important to keep these things in mind, what topics you talk about initially, and sometimes that may be asked. and then you explain that how confident you are while speaking. All of these things factor into the selection criteria for the interview round. So questions I was asked were also in terms of theoretical, like the theory part. For example, what is this disorder called? What are some classic symptoms of this disorder? Or about my own experience with research. What is this particular statistic used for? Things like that. So, majorly, I was asked about that. I know some of my classmates were also asked about their own experiences and their own outlook towards, let's say, the mental health field. So, things like that. And when you are well researched and well read about these things, your answers have a definitive structure. That is very evident to the interviewer. So it's important to be well read and well versed with what you're speaking. And I think that's the key to interviews,
Yeah.
in my opinion. That's
Yeah,
what
I
I've
think
used.
Yeah, I think what you mentioned, every point is like very relevant. Like it need not be specific about Christ, but in general, I think these are the things you should keep in
Yeah.
mind if you're going for any
Yes.
interview. And most of the people who are going to give an interview at a master's or a bachelor's entrance level, they might be doing it for the first time in their life. So
Yes. Yeah.
so it becomes far more important to have these insights that you have shared with us. Couple of things that usually help is taking a mock interview with a friend. And so you went to Bangalore to study at Christ. Do they have a hostel facility? How was your life there?
So Christ provides a hostel facility to like all students. I think there is some provision with respect to the year of study that you have. There is some difference. I personally lived in a PG accommodation, a little bit like very close to Christ, like 700 to 800 meters from the back gate of Christ. So there are multiple PG options available. There are multiple flats also available, like 1 BHK, 2 BHK, however many people you want to share it with. The hostels I've heard are good. Um, I've seen the infrastructure from outside, like they look very pretty. And even both the front gate and back gate areas are very well equipped in terms of anything you might need: stationaries, eateries, photocopy places, and then all these uh, groceries and all. Everything is like there. So Bangalore is like a very nice city, very clean. The air is good, the weather is good. It's like a very nice city. People there are very helpful and friendly. So I had personally a lot of great times living in Bangalore. And Christ in itself, the academic experience was good, and the city was also good. So I think that really helped. That synergy was there.
Um, Definitely. And especially people who are coming from like small places to Bangalore, I hope they would have a good experience. One more question on Christ. Do they have any placement opportunities? Because people who pursue psychology are very scared in terms of getting a job if in case they are interested in. So
Yeah, I can empathize with that emotion quite a lot, actually. It's very difficult as a psychology student to secure an employment opportunity where, like, you feel satisfied in terms of what you have. So mental health is still like an up and coming field. It's not completely established. If you see like 6 years back, it was definitely extremely different from how it is right now. I think the pandemic changed a lot of things when it comes to mental health and emotional awareness. And I know and I see a lot of companies coming up, a lot of independent ventures also coming up. Um, for wellness. So there are multiple areas that psychology students can explore in terms of employee assistance programs or counseling, therapy, HR, multiple areas that you can venture into. In terms of placements, Christ has a placement cell. And all of us in our second year, before joining our second year, we sort of register there. Whoever is interested in being placed, we sort of register there. And after like the third semester, the placement opportunities, the emails from the cell sort of start coming in, and we get information about the different companies that are there for our program. So different companies will have their own different requirements. So through the placement cell, we are notified about the JDs of all these companies, the remuneration package that they have, the responsibilities with the role, and the entrance, the selection procedure. Basically, there is interview, GD at times. There are different things different companies have. So time to time we are notified about that, And whoever is interested, applying there is extremely easy. Sometimes we have to send in our CV, sometimes we have to fill up a form. So there are different ways to go about it. Every class has their own placement representatives, which are elected by the people in the class. And they sort of are in charge of corresponding with the placement cell faculty member. And we are notified about the opportunities through the placement representatives and sometimes by our class teachers as well. So that particular communication aspect is taken care of in a decentralized manner so that we are also well aware of all the opportunities coming our way. And again, it's like for clinical psychology, many people want to go further and study and do an MPhil, because an MPhil in India is something that will recognize you as a clinical psychologist. There are other programs affiliated by the RCI which enable you to get trained in the skills required to be a clinical psychologist. So many students wish to go for higher studies. So the opportunities for clinical and counseling psychology students are sort of lesser than students who are in the HR psychology field, in the industrial psychology,
Right, right.
because they are directly going to companies to provide their services. And for us, it's sort of different.
Just in a minute or two, if you can tell us about your gate and your net. Did you prepare extensively for it, or does the college subjects were enough?
So my preparation for GATE and NET was completely different. I will be very honest. In both the cases, due to some personal circumstances, I was not able to give a lot of time to studying. When I was preparing for the NET exam, I was recovering from typhoid. I was in the last stage of my recovery, so I could just give it like 10 days. But when it comes to GATE, I gave it like I think a week or two to actively prepare. So it's important to be well versed with your concepts in general. When it comes to actively preparing a few months or a few weeks before the exam, what I do personally is sift through my notes, all the notes. Basically, I go through the syllabus. I make a list of important topics that I need to cover. I start with the topics I'm least confident with. I make sure to read very extensively, make my own notes. I make different versions of notes. Some are more detailed, and then making them crisper for last minute revision, and then just going through them. So I make sure to cover the syllabus well. With respect to JRF, there are two papers, paper one and paper two. Paper two is for psychology. Paper one is common for everybody giving the NET exam in that phase. And it sort of deals with analytical reasoning, reading comprehension. It has logic. It has teaching aptitude, research aptitude, all of that. So that is a completely different paper, and it has 50 questions. And the other 100 questions are from the subject that you've chosen for yourself, which is psychology. So I personally started with psychology first because I thought that will take me lesser time. I ran through the syllabus. Now for NET, the syllabus is much more extensive. That is what I felt because it's very expansive. The scope of NET and the scope of GATE are very, very different, if you see it that way. UGC NET will qualify you to be an assistant professor, apart from giving you the GRF stipend. And GATE is sort of organized by IITs. Different IITs take turns organizing GATE. So the scope there is different. And it makes you eligible to take admission for masters to IITs, and then sometimes for further employment opportunities as well. So the scope in psychology is different. For other fields, I know it's different when it comes to GATE. But for psychology, the scope for NET and GATE are very different. So the preparation has to be targeted to what kind of paper that you're giving. I would definitely suggest going through the syllabus first, making a list of topics, and then dividing your preparatory phase into days and weeks, into subjects that you're covering, and then getting into the detail of it, reading, making notes, revising. I would say if you're preparing end moment, don't take up a lot of new topics to study, because that will just bombard you with a lot of new information. But if you are taking your own time to prepare and taking quite a few months, then getting into the depth is something that is important. Getting into the width of the subject in terms of the amount of information and topics you cover, and then the depth also, like in terms of how well versed are you in terms of the application of that particular concept. Because sometimes, especially with NET, is what I felt that questions were very application based. Like they will give you a question and they will ask you, okay, what is the statistic used? And you have to genuinely know the nitty gritties of that statistic to actually know the answer. So that is how complex sometimes the exams can get. This time in 2023, the net exam was difficult as compared to the earlier phases, is what I got to know from different reviews and also my own experience. So yeah.
Thank you so much. I think this distinction between what these two exams stand for really helps. And lastly, what's next for Kashika Sachdeva?
So I am enjoying what I'm doing right now as of now. Like, so I'm a consultant psychologist. I give therapy sessions, I hold workshops, I give one-on-one consultations when it comes to academics or preparation or in terms of professional aspects also for people in the field of mental health. But I'm very sure I want to pursue further education. And I want to get trained further. I want to learn more about the field, read more. I think that is a very short way of being in a field and being in touch with basically what's happening in the world in the field. So I really am looking forward to further education, further opportunities. So yeah.
Keep rocking. You have been doing amazing work, and it's a big
Thank you.
pleasure to have you here and hear your amazing background and how have you evolved as a person. Huge shout out to Kashika Sachdeva. She's doing amazing work on LinkedIn. You can check out her profile and give her a follow. They can give you a follow, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely. And this was me, Siddharth Gupta, here for College Companion, and we'll keep on making such videos. And yeah, like, share, subscribe. Kashika, should they do that?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, share, subscribe.
Thank you so much.